Welcome everybody for another little, hopefully short video of the latest release note from Xano. For those who don't know, by the way, I should introduce myself. I'm George Duverger. I recently was the head of product at DraftBit. I recently left the company. DraftBit was a no-code way to do iOS and Android apps, and so because of that, DraftBit was focused on the front end, just the client part of your app, and we had to use backends like to handle all the data. And so for a couple of years by now, I've been using Xano as a backend, not only at work with DraftBit, but for my own project as well. So I've over time created a little bit of knowledge over on Xano, and so I'm trying to give back and do those little short videos where I specifically go over the release notes. So every week or 2 or 3 weeks sometime, they have a pretty good like cadence, but like Xano will release new improvements and bug fixes and things like that. And so I go over that list and I try to show you what has changed, what has been improved, and how to do things in the while I'm presenting that. So you can see on the screen right now, I've done that starting in August. So we've covered 1.45.3, 1.46.0, which was in September. And then there was a little bit of a blank because I went on vacation. I'm now back from vacation, so we have a few releases to catch up on. So I'm going to go right in. This, by the way, since I left, this is the new design for the Xano community website. I won't go into too much detail, but just know that they've made things a little nicer and really cool to look at. So I'm going to go straight to the release note page under releases. And so, like I said, we stopped at, I stopped at 1.46.0, which is this one on September 8th. And then they've released since 46.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So we're going to do 41.46.1 today. And then we do two other videos for the other ones. So here's the list of everything they've done in that release. And I'm going to cover some of that in this video. All right, so let's jump right in. First big one is the improvement on the fuzzy search functionality. So fuzzy search lets you do more sophisticated search in the database. So the very basic naive way to do it is, you do a search endpoint where the person put like maybe the name of what they're looking for, and then you do a condition where that name equal the name in the database, and it has to be kind of a perfect match for that to be returned, and you show the result to the user. Well, what if you really want to do a little bit for better kind of search behavior and be like, well, I only know maybe half of the word of maybe half of the description, or maybe one word inside a bigger description, or maybe you're not sure about the second part of an expression. So all those things you can do with fuzzy search, and I'll show you how it's done. So the first thing you're going to do, we're going to go to database. We're going to create a new database. I'm going to call it products. And I'm going to create all the CRUD endpoints. So, get, post, delete. So to like get all the item, post a new one, get just the one, like the kind of usual thing you would expect from an API, from a REST API. So this is my product. By default, there is a creation date. I'm going to add a name, that's it, and another text field for the description, right? Here we go. And that should be it. Maybe I'll do quantity. We'll use that later. And by default, it's going to be 1. All right, something like that. So now I'm going to add a few examples. So for example, banana. Let's say it's a grocery store. This is banana. It's 1. Okay. Maybe chocolate. And choco is delicious. Here we go. Oh, I made a typo here. What else could we do? Whole wheat pasta, healthy, and then maybe one for gluten-free. As you can see, I'm trying to put names that will be interesting in terms of search. Friendly option, and then maybe just pasta. The best. Okay, so we'll tweak those name and description as we kind of try out the different search behavior. So that's it. The one thing, so then I can go to my API and I should see all those endpoints that have been created for me. For example, the get products that will return all the products. And I'm going to run it, and that's it. That's all the record I just created. Okay. I'm going to create a new one that I'm going to call, I'm going to do it from scratch so we know what we're doing. I'm going to create product search. This is not necessarily the syntax you want for your project, but hopefully it helps you understand what I'm doing. Okay, so product search. It's going to take an input. It's going to be a name. Sorry, it's going to be just text. So that's what we're going to search with. So I'm going to search for pasta or whole wheat or things like that. Now in the function stack, this is where I'm going to query my database, and I'm going to query all the records in my product database, and I'm going to add a custom query, like a condition. And I'm going to say, I want the product name to be equal to the text that I've sent to the endpoint, or the input. Here we go. So now I have this, I can save that. I'm actually going to give it a better output name. Just going to create product. I'm going to make sure that I'm returning all the products. Okay, so let's try it out. Run and debug. With nothing, it should return nothing, because I'm going to search when the name is equal to empty string. So it should return nothing. Here we go. Now, what if I search for banana? I should return 1. Great. But if I do search for like a banana, it doesn't return anything. It's not smart enough to know that I only want to search the beginning of the word. Or if I search for, oops, sorry, here we go. If you look at the description says this is a banana. So what if I want to search with this is? If I want to search a description, that also doesn't work. So what I need to do to use that fuzzy search we just talked about is go back to my database in my table and create a new index. We're going to create an index. It's going to be a search index. I'm going to give it a name, product search. And I'm going to give it the name. I'm going to tell it on what fields do I want to search on. So like the name, but also the description. It might be a good place to search for something. I'm going to give it a priority. Like the number one priority is going to be the name. If you match the name, that's more powerful. If you match something to the description, that's good too. So that's a priority number 2. And that's it. That's all I need. That index is all I need to enable that fuzzy search. So now I can go back to my API, and I need to do a little bit of where's my product search? Here it is, product search. Now, I'm not going to use a typical condition that I did here. It's going to be something slightly different. So what I want to do is use this. You see that dollar sign? This is my search index that I can use. So I'm going to use that index to search on. So the operator is just a search, and I'm going to still give it the input that I sent to the endpoint. So that should be it. I'm going to save that. Okay, now let's do a quick test. If I search nothing, it should return nothing. If I search for banana, that doesn't change. It should return banana. Okay, but now there are a few more things I can do. And for that, I'm going to show you the documentation. Because it shows you all the example of the things, the fancy things you can do. So I'm going to search for fuzzy. You'll see a list of good examples there. So by the way, I encourage you to look at that video and look at that tutorial. And then a little bit down there, there is a list. Okay, those are the different search methods. So when you type 2 names, it's going to be an and. When you type double quote, it's going to be that specific string. So let's try it out. And I'm also going to reopen my database somewhere so we can know exactly. Okay, so that's what I have. So what if I want to search for whole chocolate? What happens if I do that? Chocolate. There's going to be an and, remember? So it doesn't find anything. So there's nothing that has whole and chocolate in it. What if I do, let's see, what would be a good example? What if I do whole wheat? Now it's finding whole wheat pasta, even though it's not the full name, right? Great. What if I want to do, oh, let me add, if I a new record that says whole delicious wheat pasta. Okay, so that's something else. Ooh, can type. Okay. So now I want to do that because I want to illustrate that if I do put it in quote, which I'm going to have to escape one way or the other, I guess like this. Yeah. Uh, Now it's only returning whole wheat because I have those quote. If I had done, let me go back. If I remove the quote, I search for whole and wheat, now I'm returning both. You know what I mean? So the quote only selected this one because the whole word, those two words together. But if I don't put a quote, it's an and, so it's a whole and wheat. So both items are being returned. All right, that's cool. What else do we have? Partial phrase matching. Okay, so can we find an example of that? Whole wheat pasta. So if I search for um, whole wheat, but I'm not sure what's in there, I can just do this. And now it's turning whole wheat pasta. What if three words. So those are words. So like if I do just this, I guess in both cases there is that. Well, you still get the point of like everything. Like if you have one word or multiple words in there, it's going to match that. Now here's an interesting one: the wildcard matching. So that allow me to do, if I want to do banana, and maybe I'm not even sure how to spell the end because in French it's banane with an E, in English it's banana. So what if I do this and I just give it the colon and then what is it, the number of character? Is that what it is? Yeah, oh, it's just the star. All right. So now it's returning banana. But remember, before when I just did banana, it did not return anything. So that's one way you can really experience the power of fuzzy search. What else do we have? We did talked about the or. Actually, I'm not sure I demoed that. But if I do chocolate or banana, sorry, I'll slow at typing. Now I'm going to return both banana and the chocolate one. So that's an or. What else do we have? Oh, the negate one. So what if I do it's pasta but without wheat? Now only the gluten-free one and the regular pasta one shows up, but the whole wheat one does not show up. See? And then you can finally do priority targets. So I can say that I'm going to search pasta in the name or in the description. And that's what that 1 and 2 is, what we set up earlier. Those are the priority. Remember, the name is priority 1 and the description is priority 2. So now you can say I want to search for pasta in the name and it return this. And maybe I want to do option in the description. Now we turn pasta in the name and option in the description. But if I did not have that, it would, well, let me illustrate that better. If I look for the name in both words, then it won't find it because option is not in the name, it's just in the description. If you don't put anything, it by default look at both, just in order of priority. Okay, I think that covers a lot of that. So that's the biggest update in this release. Let's see what else we have. All components of the Luxon library are now supporting Lambda. So I'm moving on now to another topic. But when you have an endpoint, we're going to reuse the same one I've been using here. You have in the function stack the ability to run a Lambda function, which is essentially JavaScript, like anonymous JavaScript that you can run here. And let's look at an example. I'm going to put up the doc again because there's a good example of how to manipulate a date in the doc. So that's the example. I'll show you what it does. So here you can write some JavaScript and you have access to that Luxon library. And in this case, I set up a date, which is January 1st, 2022. I'm gonna get the date time object. I'm gonna kind of parse that date, January 1st, 2022. I'm gonna add a month to it, and I'm gonna set the zone to UTC, and I'm gonna return that in something I can read. And so it's gonna be February 1st, 2022. Simple enough. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it a name so I can use it. And in my example, I'm just going to return it. That'd be very straightforward. So now it should be returning February, regardless of what I search for. Okay, so that worked. Essentially, some of that you were able to do before. The big difference now is, as they say in the release note, is that all components of the Luxon library are now supported. So if you want to know more about the Luxon library, just search for it. There is here all the information that you need to get started and show you everything you can do with that library. Okay, so that's it. Moving on, input description now showed up in Swagger documentation. So this is helpful if, see, I have an input here and I can give it a description. I can say YOLO, and that's my description. It doesn't do much in Xano, but if you want to export the schema, like the shape of your database, of your API, sorry, and bring it to another service, whether it's DraftBit, whether it's Blobber, to do like a payment gateway or whatever it is, you have the ability in Xano to get this like documentation, this Swagger file. So the Swagger file, this is what it looks like visually, but more specifically, this is the format. This is an open API format, and that's a way for services between services to understand what the schema of your API is. So there should be all the information here that you need to at least know what you have access to in your API, and what are the endpoints, and what property do they take, what input, what do they return, and all of that. And so now here, the description that I use in that input is represented in that OpenAPI document. So when I take it and put it in a different service, like Blobber, for example, it will use that and it will show there the description. So it's a human thing. Like, it's really helpful for human to understand when they're going to read the doc, like, oh, that's what that input is. So not so big in terms of functionality, but something very helpful to understand what your API does. Okay, that's it. And then we got a few bug fixes. I was trying to find a good way, but it's a little hard to show you how to replicate those. But for example, so like apparently in the output, when you get all the records, or even if you have a condition, when you get multiple records, you have a way to, they have different way you can return them. You can return them in a list. You can return them as like a Boolean to know if you find something. You can return just a count, how many were there, stream. I won't go into detail, but there was a big update a few weeks ago. Or aggregate, where you can do some interesting manipulation in like by aggregating stuff. So all the item with the same color or things like that. And so now you have the ability to aggregate based on a date field, which you did not used to have, apparently. To be very honest with you, I didn't experience that myself before, so I didn't know there was a limitation, but it's now fixed. So that's pretty cool. Next one is date picker now support choosing and earlier than 1970, so just a technical limitation. There used to be apparently an unknown error on top of the API request widget. So if you go in your dashboard, I believe that's what they're referring to, that API request widget. Might be something else. Again, that's also something I haven't experienced myself. So I'm glad it's fixed. I'm just not sure what it was. The page selector on the database spreadsheet view. So if you look at the database, this is the spreadsheet view, and there is a way to like go from one page to the other. I only have one page this example, but they've made some improvement to fix that pagination. And finally, the subpath wasn't working properly on the update variable statement. So this is interesting. Why is that too? I didn't know that was broken, but essentially, let me try taking an endpoint. So let's say I have this, I'm getting all the products here. I'm going to hide that for now. I'm going to just show the list of products. Okay. I want to loop through all those products. I'm going to create a loop for, oh, no, not what I meant to do. Sorry. I went a little too fast to get ahead of myself. So I'm going to loop for each loop. So for each product, I'm going to have a variable called products. Here we go. And for each of those, I'm going to update a variable. So first, let me create that variable. I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call var or test. Here we go. Put that at the very top. Okay, and now each iteration of my loop, I want to update the variable that I called test. And here, the product is the object in the iteration inside the loop. And now I can do like that subpath, that dot notation to dot quantity, for example. And so that apparently did not used to work properly using a subpath in the update variable function. So now that works. So I've now updated test with the product quantity variable, with the product quantity value. And so that's it. I can even just return test. That'll be easier. And we're not going to see much, but you're going to see that at least it's not breaking. So let me try again. Oh, wait. Did I have any? Let's see. Set it to 1, and then I'm going to update the variable with the product quantity. Yeah, that should be fine. Maybe I'll do a little. Okay, 1. Yeah, that's it. So now it's returning that, which is great. Again, I didn't know that used to be broken, but now it does. So that's the subpath in the update variable statement. Okay. This is all for 1.46.1 of September 2022. I'll stop now, but hopefully that was helpful, and we'll do another one for the next release that come after this. If you need any help with any kind of Xano need you might have, you can reach out. I'm Georges Duverger. You can find me on Twitter at GDUVRGR. So feel free to ping me there and ask me any question. I also have my website /Xano coaching. So if you have any questions there, I do a little Xano coaching, where I can help you understand what Xano is good at, and if it's good, appropriate for your company, and maybe like unblock you if you're blocked with any issues. So let me know, feel free to reach out, but otherwise I will see you again at the next release. All right, thank you very much, bye.